Today, I'm going to show you how you can get more results in less time. To do that, we need to discuss 5 key principles: intensity, optimal volume, frequency, exercise selection, advanced techniques. Most people are looking to build some muscle, burn some fat, what you might call toning, and try to improve their overall health. While doing this, they're trying to fit in the rest of their life, such as work, a significant other, friends, family, hobbies, and possibly children or pets. As such, training is likely not the key focus in their life. Instead, they want the best results in the least amount of time. At first, you might think that a minimalist training approach will lead to considerably worse results, but that's not necessarily the case. In fact, a well-planned minimalist approach can get you nearly the same results. You see, when we start to look at the outcomes that come from training, such as building more muscle, there's a huge spike early on. However, as you do more, you don't increase linearly. The gains slow down. This doesn't just apply to muscle building. The same is true for cardiovascular health. A recent study comparing the health effects of walking saw that the less you do, the more benefit there is to an increase in step count. Once you reach a certain point, there are diminishing returns. So if you're someone after the most results possible, that's fine, do more. If you're not though, then we can focus on the work that gives you the most bang for your buck. Alright, let's dive in. Principle 1, intensity. If you want results, you need to train hard. There's no way around it. Having a high intensity is critical with a minimalist approach. The research on this is clear. Intensity has a huge impact on outcomes. For instance, a group of researchers performed 2 studies comparing the impact of either reducing intensity or volume. They found that when cutting back volume but maintaining intensity, there was virtually no decrease in performance. Whereas when they cut back intensity but maintained volume, there was a substantial decrease in performance. This highlights how critical intensity is. And it's not just for maintaining. A 2022 study with nearly 15,000 participants looked at the results of an extremely minimalist program, where participants trained 1 time per week, completing 1 primary set for 6 exercises, spanning up to nearly 7 years. Using this program, participants consistently made improvements over the long term. It is important to note that participants took their sets to failure. As such, training to failure, or close to it, is really important. When I say failure, what I mean is the inability to do another rep on an exercise with the given weight. That might seem obvious to some, but it's often people stop their set when it gets difficult, not when they actually hit failure. To help with this, pick an exercise you feel confident performing and push your effort until you fail. Doing so will help anchor in what it feels like to truly fail. Now, some people are concerned with training close to failure, particularly with heavy weights. Fortunately, you don't have to. Research has found that you can get similar results for strength and hypertrophy with light and heavier loads. So if you're not comfortable using heavy weights, that's fine. However, it is valuable to keep in mind that if you choose to use lighter loads, it becomes particularly important that you hit failure. And when it comes to endurance training, there's a similar trend. If you're short on time, you need to push your efforts. There's no more cruise mode cardio. Now's the time for some high intensity interval training where you are huffing and puffing. A 2019 review found that despite having lower training volume, high-intensity interval training was able to have a greater improvement in fitness than continuous training, making it a time-efficient option. To be clear, this isn't to say doing low-intensity, Zone 1 or Zone 2 work isn't valuable. It just doesn't give the same return for time. Principle 2, volume. There's no denying it, volume is important. If you don't do the work, you won't get the results. As we discussed earlier, as you do more work, you get less results back for the increase in volume though. When you look at the research around training volume, you can see that the first few sets deliver the most bang for your buck. However, how much you need to do is the critical question. A study from 2019 shed some light on this. The researchers split participants into 3 groups and followed a minimalist training program, either completing 1 set, 3 sets, or 5 sets per exercise for 3 sessions a week. When you compare the results, you can see that doing more results in more gains, no surprise. But even at low volumes, you already see diminishing returns. For the quads, doing just 1 set led to 45% of the hypertrophy, and doing 3 sets got you 72%. Had they carried out the study to include more groups, we likely would have saw that this percentage breaks down even more. A similar study carried out in 2017 reinforces this, where the researchers contrasted individuals completing either 1 to 4 sets per week, 5 to 9 sets per week, or 10 plus per sets per week per muscle group, and identified a 64% benefit for hypertrophy with 1 to 4 sets, followed by a 20% increase for 5 to 9 sets, and finally a 16% increase for 10 plus sets. From this, it's safe to say you're looking for somewhere between 5 to 9 sets per week to get the most bang for your buck. For endurance activities, there's less clarity on this. We can look at one of the Hickson papers from earlier where they reduced volume for insight. Here, the researchers saw no short-term drop-off with performance in as little as 13-minute long sessions. In the long term though, the 13-minute group did see a reduction in performance, whereas the 26-minute group did not. A limitation with this is that the sessions weren't at an extremely high effort. If the participants had trained at a higher intensity, it may have offset the reduced volume. We can see this where a different group of researchers had participants perform a very high intensity, accumulating a total of 120 seconds of effort in a session, broken up over multiple sets. In this case, the participants saw improvements in their endurance capabilities with a relatively low volume. Principle 3, frequency. Alright, so we've locked in intensity and volume, but what about frequency? When researchers compare frequency, there seems to be a key benefit in training a muscle group at least twice a week for hypertrophy and strength. This may be due to the fact that it helps to spread out the volume, getting in more of those early sets where you get the most benefit. If you're on a low volume approach, such as the minimalist style, then a higher frequency may be particularly beneficial. When it comes to endurance training, it's difficult to say what the best frequency is. It's likely similar with lifting, where it's best to have a minimum of a few days per week, but you can distribute it even more frequent if desired. A study from 2019 provides a unique take where they had people do approximately 20 seconds of vigorous exercise 3 times per day, 3 days per week, for a total of 3 minutes of exercise per week, leading to a 5% increase in VO2 max after 6 weeks. As such, it appears that you can break up endurance activities into a smaller, more frequent dosage. Principle 4, exercise selection. This is a critical one to allow you to get the most out of the prior points. Not all exercises are designed equal. Generally, choosing exercises that are conducive to pushing high efforts is ideal. If you're doing an exercise and the coordination or technique of it limits you from training to failure or close to it, it's not the right match for a minimalist program. For instance, a bodyweight reverse lunge is going to require a ton of reps for most people to truly reach near failure, which isn't ideal. In contrast, a deep, heels elevated goblet squat can be an effective choice for most people. If you're someone who trains at home, this can seem hard. But if you're creative, there are tons of options, like the wall slide hack squat. If you're not super creative, don't worry. We've got a video coming out soon going over the best at-home exercises, so be sure to subscribe and watch for that. Overall, focus on choosing exercises which you can push hard for low to medium reps, reaching close to failure on and aren't overly limited by technique, balance, or coordination. Principle 5, advanced techniques. For the majority of my athletic career, I've had a good amount of time to train. Then I started multiple businesses, had kids, and my time to train was drastically cut. I still wanted to make progress and keep after it, which meant I needed to implement strategies to get the most gains in the least amount of time possible. Enter advanced techniques. These are 3 methods which can increase your return from training without a large time chunk. Number 1, smart supersets. I love supersets, particularly smart supersets. A superset is where you sequence exercises back to back instead of doing one exercise, resting, and then repeating that same exercise. It can be a very effective way to sneak in more training density. Now, when I say smart supersets, I mean doing supersets with exercises that don't compete with each other. For instance, training an upper body push exercise with a lower body pull exercise, or doing an upper body pull exercise with a lower body push exercise. Not doing 2 exercises which work the same area or compete for the same demands like your grip strength. Number 2, drop sets. A drop set is where you perform an initial set as usual, but then when you finish, you immediately decrease the weight and continue on instead of resting, usually dropping the load multiple times. Drop sets have been shown to be an effective option for strength and hypertrophy, while only taking a fraction of the time. Drop sets tend to work best with exercises where you can easily and quickly change load, such as dumbbell curls or press downs. Number 3, myo reps. To do myo reps, you start by performing an initial activation set, where you use a weight you can complete 5 to 12 reps with, but stop your set 1 to 2 reps short of failure. Then you rest for 3 to 5 deep breaths, or approximately 10 to 20 seconds. Then go again, executing 2 to 5 more reps, stopping 1 to 2 reps before failure again. And then you repeat this for up to 5 mini sets. Myo reps work best with exercises which don't require significant setup and allow a high intensity like leg press. With these 5 principles, you'll be able to implement a minimalist program. Now, if you'd like examples of minimalist programming as well as more information on minimalist training, head over to the link in the description where you can get our minimalist training ebook for free on us at no charge. Here's the deal. Consistency reigns king. If you show up and work hard, you can get results. By making sure to properly implement these 5 principles, you can get the most results possible in the least amount of time. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. See you in the next video.